Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
Alright, so today we're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Is that what?
Yes, that's what it is. Pirates of the Caribbean, the fifth movie, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
This was a very okay movie.
It was alright. I enjoyed it. It's nothing like great. I would say it's better than the other sequels to Pirates of the Caribbean. But like the first Pirates of the Caribbean, I think we saw it like 3 times in theaters.
I believe it was the first movie that I saw more than once in theaters.
That movie was something special.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of the sequels more than once all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces when they've come on TV, but I've never watched any of the sequels all the way through.
I've probably seen at least a couple, like 1 or 2 of them more than once, just because they would have come out at that time in my life when I was going to movie premieres on Thursday nights religiously, and then going with you guys on the weekend, you know.
Maybe the fourth movie.
Probably just the fourth movie.
Probably just the fourth movie you might have seen more than one.
Which I don't even remember that well.
Blackbeard was the bad guy, and they were looking for the Fountain of Youth, and it.
Oh right, I completely forgot that the Fountain of Youth was the MacGuffin in that.
There's also
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, there's
that's usually how much I remember
also
from
a
it.
mermaid involved at some point. Don't really remember that one. And the throwback to the ride was the scene where they go into this pirate's lair and there's the skeleton sitting up in bed with like all the treasure piled around him. He's got the magnifying. That was that scene taken from the ride. Yeah. Anyway, so this movie though, Dead Men Tell No Tales, was all right. Not a great movie, but certainly not a bad movie.
There are a few things that they could have done that would have made it a good movie. I don't think there's much they could have done with the story to have made it a great movie like the original.
Right.
But there are some small things they could have changed to make it a good movie. For one, let me have some naval battles. It's a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and there's basically no naval battles. The best we get, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but until later in the video, but
right, we're doing a non-spoiler review now, and then we'll discuss it in depth later.
Yep.
We'll put a spoiler warning up.
We'll discuss it in depth later.
Oh, and you tell me to kill myself when I have bad jokes.
So, there's a... I don't think it's really spoiling anything to say that there's no real naval battles in the movie. You see it in the trailer that the bad guy's ship is it's a cursed ship. It has no keel. It was torn out.
The ship was wrecked, and now it's just sort of moves as if it were a whole ship.
Right. Which is really cool.
It looks really cool.
And the effects on that are done really well.
The effects in the movie are amazing. So for the bad guys, in life it was a Spanish ship, a Spanish crew.
Be careful. Don't get too close to spoilers.
Right, anyway. But you've seen in the trailers, Captain Salazar, Javier Bardem's character, the effects on him are really cool because all of these guys are in the state they were in when they died.
Right.
So since he drowned, his hair and clothes are flowing like they're in water.
It's a very cool effect.
It's a really cool effect. The only problem I have with it is sometimes he's hard to understand because he's speaking as if his mouth is full of water and water's like leaking out of his mouth all the time.
Yeah.
Which is a little gurgly.
On top of him having a Spanish accent.
Right. I mean, his Spanish accent is not real heavy in real life. If you've seen him in other movies, he speaks very good English and his accent is not particularly heavy.
He definitely plays it up for this movie.
Yeah, I think his accent is thicker in this movie than it would be otherwise. But it's like water is running out of his mouth all the time when he speaks, and so it's kind of gurgly, and it makes it a little bit hard to understand what he's saying sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, so this, I mean, you see in the movie the main way they attack ships is the ship like rears up like it's
It's a centipede.
like a centipede and just sort of falls on top of the enemy ships, and which somehow detonates the magazines in the ships. But I mean, I would have preferred it like some small things they could have changed. Like the cursed ship is cool. The way the crew is done is really cool. Even the zombie sharks that they showed a bit in the trailer were pretty cool.
They were really cool.
I just wish all it would have done is when they show up and attack the enemy, they just show up broadside them because their ship can take the hits and not care because it's a ghost ship or a cursed ship or whatever.
Yeah, most of the shots can go through the ship anyway.
Yeah, like if that had been the case, would have made the movie hugely better. Just a lot better if they'd have made that small a change. It's just the problem. It suffers from the problem that all the pirate sequels have suffered from, in that the weird supernatural stuff just gets too bizarre.
Yeah, it's too overdone.
It's too heavy-handed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then some other things, I think they could have trimmed some things out in the story here and there and spent more time with some other things to expand on them.
Yeah, which we'll get into the specifics of
Right,
that later
but
on.
there's certain areas where the plot could have been tightened up, or they could have removed some things that I feel are extraneous.
Extraneous characters.
Yeah,
Like, handfuls of them.
and then added stuff into other parts to expand on them, just make them to flesh out some better parts of the movie.
Right.
And that could have helped here and there. And
But I mean, the overall story was decent. Like, you get a lot of origin story of Jack. You know, you in the trailer you see him as a kid having obviously pulled one over on Captain Salazar as he's walking along the deck of his ship, swinging the compass around.
yeah,
And so you do get an origin story, you know, some origin story of Jack in that way. It's a cool sequence, and like it feels appropriate to the series, I think.
yeah, they did another. Disney's been pulling this off since Ant-Man, I guess, where they're de-aging characters. Now it seems like every Marvel movie and now the Star Wars movie, well, Rogue One anyway, where they're taking actors that have a vague resemblance to the original actor, and then putting like a digital face on them and stuff.
Yeah, and that's how they did young Jack Sparrow. But yeah, I mean that's how they did Leia and Tarkin.
Yeah, it's getting better.
In Rogue One.
It's definitely getting better and better. I know when I first saw Ant-Man, I was blown away by it, but it's looking more and more realistic, and this one they did pretty good. You could kind of tell it was still CG. But for the most part, like no other effect like stood out to me as CG. I mean, you know it is because there's no other way.
Yeah.
That could be, but it doesn't stand out as, oh yeah, that's CG. Like we mentioned in the Alien Covenant review, there's a couple scenes where the xenomorph stands out as that's clearly just looks CG.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Probably, I think the worst CG scene is probably that opening scene. You know what I'm talking about? When they're having that chase through the town.
Oh yeah,
that was probably the worst of the CG. Just because it didn't help that it was a particularly over the top scene.
It's also in a brightly lit daytime sequence,
Right.
which is always harder to hide CG in. But that gets me to another point: is like every Pirates movie, there's all these like set pieces that are like cartoony. And I don't mean that they look cartoony, but the over the top ridiculousness of them is like a cartoon, which you've come to expect in Pirates now, I think. So it's not like you're not sitting there like going, "Oh, this is ridiculous." You're just sort of laughing along with it.
That opening scene, and it went too far with one scene in particular, about a third of the way through the movie. We'll get into that in the spoilers.
Okay, I don't know if I know what you're talking about or not.
Yeah, it where it's just like it was too much. I think it just took it too far because, like I said, you know, is the original Pirates movie. It was that one cursed ship, its cursed crew, everything else was fairly believable
and pretty grounded.
and pretty grounded. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of anachronism in it as far as the uniforms, the ships, the types of weapons. I mean, I don't know specifically because my interest in military history starts in the Victorian era, so I'm not super familiar with the stuff in the 18th century. But
I want to say, I think I'd heard that England didn't have control of Port Royal at that point in time.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's stuff like that. But as far as like, like the ship battles are believable. It's like even the cursed ship is just
it just behaved like a regular ship.
It behaved like a regular ship. It didn't do anything particularly weird, other than manage to catch full wind with torn sails. Other than that, it didn't do anything particularly bizarre. It just showed up, had regular naval battles, came out on top because it's a cursed ship and doesn't really care about getting blasted and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like I said, it's just the supernatural stuff. Like, was a cool setup, and it was a really neat idea with them. It's just the way the ship behaves is really bizarre and too much.
Yeah, if the ship had behaved, we're talking about in Dead Men Tell No Tales, if the cursed ship,
yeah,
was otherwise like had cannons and all that.
Well, I mean, it had cannons.
Yeah, they just never.
Not just like I don't think it's really spoiling anything, but they never used them. I don't think they fired a single shot from that ship, did they?
No, they did.
Did they?
Yeah, I don't. It would be a spoiler to tell you about it.
Oh, wait! After it was cursed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't remember. We'll have to get into that later. But
yeah, remind me, and I'll talk about that. So there's that. Back to the subject. So like, the movie's funny, like we come to expect from Pirates. There's some like great comedic sequences.
Usually with Jack interacting with those around him.
Right. There's a surprise cameo.
Yeah.
That was pretty good in a jail sequence that was pretty amusing. Yeah, there's some pretty good jokes in there. None of the jokes really fell flat for me. And we got a couple new characters. What was it Henry?
The main character?
Yeah. Yeah, Henry.
Yeah.
And Karina.
Henry and Karina, who are the real protagonists of this particular movie.
Yeah, Jack takes sort of a bit of a more secondary role.
Which, I mean, he kind of did in the previous ones anyway. Like, it really followed Elizabeth a lot more, especially in the third one. It followed Elizabeth a lot more heavily than it did Jack, I think.
Yeah, and then, well, except in the fourth one, it was Jack's show in the...
Yeah, that's true.
Fourth one. And they did an alright job in performances. One thing that kind of bothered me is, because she's a scientist, she's accused of being a witch all the time. And I'm like, even in the 1700s, they're not that backwards.
Yeah.
Like, she looks at the stars, she's a witch, and everyone constantly accuses her of being a witch and wanting to burn her at the stake, and it gets tiresome.
It does.
I think that gets tiresome. It'd be one thing if the pirates did, because they're like very superstitious. They're so superstitious and uneducated. But every character, well, except for Henry, the main male character, everyone else in the whole movie basically accuses her of being a witch at some point. And I'm like, they're not that backwards in the 1700s. That was an age of reason and enlightenment. They were studying science.
Yeah.
Even in the supposed backwards colonies of America, there was a lot of, intellectual pursuits going on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It just, the joke got tiresome, I think. I think
they should have, honestly, because, I mean, it's because she's a witch, obviously she's, being hounded by the British, and I think that a better way to have handled that would to have just implicated her in another crime of some kind, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter.
Well, she has a goal she's trying to achieve, and if she had to steal something to get that,
yeah, whatever. I mean, just it doesn't really matter.
She needs to wind up being wanted by the British for her to come in contact with the rest of the characters.
Right, and it doesn't really matter what that crime was.
No.
So yeah, I think they should have just made her having stole something or whatever, and that is what pissed them off.
Yeah, that.
I think we've exhausted all we can really talk about without spoiling the movie.
Right. So
if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to spoil, leave, go away. Come back and watch the rest of this video though, so we get the view again. Appreciate that. But from henceforward, here there be spoilers. Yarr.
Yep. So, what do we want to discuss first?
The fact that Karina did not need to be Barbarossa's daughter.
Barbossa.
Yeah, Barbossa's
Yeah,
daughter.
that was.
I was like, come on, really?
Why does she need to be Barbossa's daughter? How small is this world that everyone that they encounter is connected to somebody else they already know?
It's so, that was a frustrating thing. And, didn't matter. I mean, I guess it gave
Barbossa a reason to sacrifice himself at the end, which wasn't even all that necessary. I think what could have happened was Jack could have pulled a sword, dropped it down to her, and she could have killed Salazar.
Right. Or if they wanted to kill off Barbossa, he's fighting Salazar, and both of them get knocked off the chain.
Right.
Not that he specifically sacrificed himself. Just
no.
He's the bottom one, so Jack drops the sword to him, and he fights off Spaniard man Salazar, and they both plummet. If they had wanted to kill Barbossa, they could have done that.
I don't know. Other than this is supposedly the last one, I don't know why they would. They've already killed him off and brought him back once.
Yeah. Which is fine. I like Jeffrey Rush, and I like Barbossa as a character.
Right. Which gets me kind of to the post-credit scene. Which is bothersome, especially if this is supposed to be an end, the last of it.
We sat through the credits because we always sit through the credits because someone has to sit there and make fun of everyone's names. And the whole time I'm thinking, there's going to be a post-credit sequence.
Well, we know there is because the lights haven't come up yet.
Oh, that's true. The house lights had not come up yet.
The house lights had not come up yet, so we know that there's going to be a post-credit scene.
Yeah, and so I'm just sitting there thinking, what are they going to do? I was suspecting, honestly, for it to show Barbossa, in a dinghy rowing to Port Royal or something.
Right.
Rolling to Tortuga?
Yeah, or wherever.
Wherever, or being picked up by one of his apparent armada of ships.
Yeah, he was this pirate Commodore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting something to show Barbossa being alive, but what it shows instead is Will Turner, who's back, is in bed with Elizabeth.
Yep.
They're sleeping, and then the silhouette of Davy Jones comes in and raises his claw like he's about to strike Will, and he wakes up
with a startle.
Oh, it was just a nightmare. And he goes back to bed, and then it tilts down to show the floor, and there's these barnacles on the floor. And it's well, that's dumb for a couple reasons. One, if you're supposed to be ending it, why hint that there might be another one? And two, they've already eliminated Davy Jones.
Yeah.
He was gone. That's why Will Turner was captain of the Flying Dutchman.
But what if, even though they broke all the pirate curses, the Dutchman still needs to... there still needs to be a ship doing the job that the Dutchman does, and now Barbossa is captain of it or something.
But he has the tentacle squid face?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a thought.
And Crab Claw?
Yeah.
All right. Fast transformation. I mean, even Will Turner just had a few barnacles, 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was hinted that Davy Jones had been doing it for a while, right? And
yeah.
Wasn't it supposed to be the reason they got all sea creaturey and barnacle-y is because they weren't doing their job, and that was part of the curse or something?
Maybe could have been it.
I don't remember.
I don't really remember. But yeah, at the end of this movie, because they found the trident of
Poseidon.
Neptune or Poseidon.
It was Poseidon.
Poseidon.
Which totally looked like some Tzeentch chaos thing from Warhammer.
Yeah, kind of did. Since they broke that, and that was a plot. That was the reason it was the MacGuffin is because it could end. Here's the thing that like kind of is weird. So breaking the trident ends all curses in the sea.
All seabound.
Every
curses.
seabound curse ends. So if the crew of the Black Pearl were still cursed, they would no longer be cursed. The crew of the Flying Dutchman is no longer cursed.
Yes,
And that's why Henry Turner, Will Turner's son, is looking for it. All seabound curses are broken, and the crew and Salazar and his crew are no longer cursed. Everyone in that movie wants to find it to break the curse, break whatever curse is afflicting them. Why can't they? Why are they all fighting over it?
Okay. So, Henry wants to find it to break the curse. Jack wants to find it so he can control the sea.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. I mean, Jack has no reason... Well, Jack wants to find it so he can control the sea because that's how he plans to keep Salazar from killing him.
Right, okay.
Salazar wants to find it because he wants to control the sea. Well, really, he just wants to find Jack and kill Jack.
Yeah.
And then once he realizes they're on the trail for it, he wants to find it because he wants to control the sea to hunt down, to be able to destroy all the pirates.
Okay, so I guess they do have conflicting reasons for...
Right. When ultimately speaking, just destroying the trident, everyone wins.
Right.
Except, Salazar still has a bloodlust for Jack.
That's true. And he's mortal at that point, though.
Right.
Back to Salazar and his crew. I was talking about one thing. At first, when they first showed up, and there's like these chunks missing out of them, and I'm like, I don't know why that is. It didn't make any sense.
It was cool looking.
It was cool looking, but then they explained because they're in the state they were when they died, and so their ship exploded, so they're missing chunks from that explosion. But without any gore. I understand it's Disney, it's PG-13. There's no gore to indicate that these are wounds. There's just pieces missing from them.
Yeah.
So it was confusing
And
as to what they were trying to accomplish with the
they
look.
are all, like, charred looking, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, they're all, like, charred and burned up because...
But I
Like,
didn't,
there's,
that
like-
didn't dawn on me because they were...
I guess, like, hellfire and brimstone or something in that cursed water, because it, like, started glowing orange underneath the ship, and then the magazine detonated.
Yeah, so the ship sails into, like, the cursed triangle or something.
Chasing after Jack. Well,
Yeah.
chasing after... So Salazar, his father and grandfather were killed by pirates, and so he vows to hunt down pirates.
He's a pirate. He's a Spanish naval captain, and he's
Right.
a pirate hunter.
Yes, very, very ruthless
Pirate hunter.
pirate hunter.
So years and years ago, he went on a quest to eliminate pirates from the sea, and he was like wiping pirates out left and right.
So
The ship that Jack was on, he was a mate on this ship.
and the remaining pirates like assembled a flotilla to try to take him out. The ship Jack's on is the only one that manages to make it out, and that was the part I was talking about, where like that's the closest thing we get to a sea battle, is that scene where most of the pirate ships are already destroyed, and they're just sort of firing volleys to finish them off.
Right.
And so Jack, the captain of the ship Jack is on, dies, or is dying, and Jack comes up to him, and the captain hands him the compass. And so that's how Jack gets the compass that always points to your greatest desire. Now, at this point, Jack gets an idea of how to escape, so he catches the attention of Salazar, and they're sailing along.
He's taunting Salazar.
He's taunting Salazar. He's up in the crow's nest, and apparently that's how he gets his name, Jack the Sparrow. He's up in the crow's nest taunting Salazar, and so they're sailing towards the Devil's Triangle. Is that what it's called?
Something like that, yeah.
It was like this triangular rock formation where on one side of it, the thing is, in the trailer, it looked like it was a cave. But it turns out it's just like this area that's just like covered in clouds constantly. On the other, it's like a gate. And on the far side of it, it's just this area that's like covered in clouds.
Yeah, so it's just dark there.
It's just really dark there all the time.
Yeah, it looks like a cave in the trailer.
It looks like a cave in the movie, actually, until
that scene.
until the scene where the curse or them being trapped is.
It's a twofold curse.
It's a twofold curse. They are undead, and they cannot escape the triangle. Right. So when the curse is broken and they can escape the triangle,
not the whole curse. They're still undead.
Yeah, they're still undead. So when the curse is broken, that's holding them in the triangle. The clouds clear up, and that's when I was like, it's talking about like, oh, there was light, and I was like, so is the cave collapsing? And like, oh no, there was clouds. That was really weird.
Yeah, it was not clear before that.
But anyway, so they're sailing along. Jack does a bootleg maneuver, or bootleg turn, so they throw rope over the edge as they're sailing past this rock formation. He cuts the rudder hard to the left, and they swing around, and Salazar's ship, being too big to maneuver like that, is stuck just drifting into the Devil's Triangle.
And so they drift in, and this
glowing
red light from under the water, like there's like lava under there or something, like opens up, engulfs the ship, and detonates the magazine, and the ship explodes, and so Salazar gets thrown into the ocean.
And he dies in the water because he's thrown off the ship. That's why he's all drowned looking. Most of the crew dies in the explosion. That's why there's chunks of them missing, and they're all charred looking. Yeah, so I mean that whole sequence was pretty cool. I just kind of wish that there was. I kind of wish there was just something else that detonated that magazine. That was just. It felt like kind of a cop out. It felt like lazy writing.
Mm-hmm. Well, what should have happened is they'd run aground on a rock, and then I don't know. They could show a lantern fall on the magazine or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that should have been what detonated.
Yeah.
The magazine. So getting back to when they do actually fire some guns, they're fighting the Black Pearl, and they're like coming up right on, and they only fired a gun once. When they were about to shoot, though, Jack pulls a rope and it points straight up in the air.
Right,
before it goes off, and it shoots their undead figurehead, which is like stomping around trying to kill Jack.
Yeah, the figurehead on the something Mary.
Yeah,
I forget what was the name of Sal. It's something Mary, right?
Yeah.
The figurehead comes to life and is attacking Jack while Salazar is attacking Jack. Yeah, and so I remember that sequence. Right, I'd completely forgotten about that. But yeah, and I mean, those two ships are coming up on each other, and they get side by side. And I'm just like, oh man, there's gonna be some naval broadsides and stuff.
Silent Mary.
Silent Mary, like in the first movie, where the Pearl and the Pearl and the Interceptor.
Yeah, I think so.
Are passing each other at like, near point blank. They're like 20 feet from each other, and then they just blast each other with broadside. That was a really cool sequence, And this movie it had none of that. All the naval fighting was shipboarding. There was no cannon fusillades and whatnot. I mean, the stuff we really want to see.
In fact, the most cannon shots that they used were on land in the execution scene.
Oh, that's the scene I was talking about where it got just too silly. With the guillotine spinning around.
The thing with the guillotine.
But Gibbs, could you hear me rolling my eyes in that scene, dude? No, because it was pretty hard.
Gibbs shows up with this cannon and he fires it off a few times, but they're like completely on land. So that's the most use of a cannon we got out of the movie was on land.
Well, yeah, and there was a sequence where the British at the beginning of the movie, Henry's I don't even know what rank, but he's in the British Navy on this naval ship hunting down pirates, and they're firing their forward guns at the pirates as they're chasing them.
He's supposed to be working a bilge.
Yeah,
I call. So he's very low rank. Yeah,
and he realizes where they're sailing and tries to convince the captain not to sail into the Devil's Triangle. And they call him a coward and all this, so they tear his sleeves, throw him in the brig. obviously Salazar's pirates just wrecked the British crew. Salazar mentioned
he never
talks
gets
about,
a chance to say "I told you so."
Yeah, he never. That I was really hoping there was a chance, an "I told you so" moment, but it never showed up. Because those are always very satisfying.
Right.
And Salazar finds him in the brig. He has a wanted poster of Jack Sparrow, and so
Turner's searching for Jack Sparrow because he thinks Jack Sparrow can lead him to the Trident, so he can cure lift his father's curse.
So Salazar,
which is his whole
yeah
purpose in this, was lifting his father's curse.
Yeah, so Salazar gives this whole speech about how he always leaves one man alive to spread the tale and all this, and it's very, very, very cliche and stuff. But I mean, cliche is fine in these movies. Yeah, it is. Man, that opening scene though, that bank robbery.
Well, not exactly the opening scene. The opening scene is actually Henry as a boy trying to he wants to be with his father, so he purposely drowns himself so that the Dutchman would come and get him. But Will sends him back. He refuses.
Yeah, but I mean, the opening scene, as far as Jack is concerned, is that bank robbery was just so ridiculous too. It's dragging the whole building through that town. I was just I think it would have been fine. I think it would have been a very humorous scene. Still, if they were just dragging that safe through the town and all the money's falling out the back, that would have been enough.
Yeah. Or even if they had drug the building some distance and it had fallen apart earlier.
Yeah,
because the building collapses around the safe, and then the safe is still being drug, at the very end.
Yeah, it's the building should have just been falling apart and not made it very far.
Right.
Between that scene,
but and what's that? The Death Valley Borax Company was man, I want those mules.
Right.
Give me those.
Yeah.
Pull that whole building.
So
get a lot of borax out.
Yeah, but that and the scene with the guillotine, man. Just so Gibbs, Jack's gonna be executed with this new machine, the guillotine, which I think hadn't been invented yet.
Do we have a specific year? This might be. It's 20 years after the first movie.
Yeah. I mean, Britannia rules the waves, so it could have been as late as the 1760s, I think. It's hard to say, but I mean the guillotine didn't come along till the early 1800s. Right?
When was the French Revolution? That was in the 1700s, wasn't it?
I don't know. We have a computer here. Let's Google it.
We should know this stuff, since we're both history people.
I should know how to spell guillotine too.
Guill.
Oh, LLO. That was my problem. Guillotine. Was France's standard method of judicial execution until 1981, apparently.
Wow.
Barbarians.
Surprised at France.
Introduced in France in 1789. So, I guess it could have been. Because I don't think it didn't see heavy use until the late 1700s, early 1800s.
Right. Anyway,
but yeah, so the Jack's in this guillotine. He's supposed to be executed, and Gibbs shows up.
He has his choice though: firing squad, hanging, or guillotine. He's like, guillotine sounds neat. It sounds French.
How bad could it be if it's French?
Right.
So he's in the guillotine, and Gibbs shows up with the cannon, fires it off, and knocks out the support under the thing, and so the platform the guillotine is on sort of collapses. And the guillotine, as the blade's dropping, spins down, so it doesn't get all the way to Jack's head, and then bump him like there, and so it slams back down to the
so
top.
the axis of this rotation is like where Jack is, and so this guillotine is spinning around.
And I mean, it spins around probably 8 times in this sequence.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird scene, but
Yeah, that was too much. Yeah, and I mean, just ugh. Also, the other thing I would have liked to have seen done different is when they get the pearl out of the bottle.
right.
So it turns out what you need to get those ships out of the bottle, and I'm curious what happened to those other ships and bottles because they had the bag of them at the end of the 4th movie.
Well, I'm wondering because I'm pretty sure I'm actually now very, very certain that Barbossa's ship was the Queen Anne's Revenge.
That would explain all the skulls on it
And the red sails.
and the red sails.
So I think his fleet of ships, because Barbossa had a whole fleet of ships.
Right.
I think that's what those ships were. Because he had Blackbeard's sword.
You're right.
And so to get the ship out of the bottle, you need to pierce the bottle with Blackbeard's sword and say like this incantation of I release you
Yeah.
sort of thing.
And
And
so
then throw it into the water.
right. And then once it's in the ocean, it grows to full size, like those little dinosaur sponges. You know, so what I would have liked to have seen, what I think would have been a much cooler way for it to appear is if, like, it shows Jack, like, holding it up level with the horizon.
Yeah, because there's this one shot where he sits it on this rail so that it is level with the horizon, and it looks like it's floating on the water on the distance.
Right. So if you just, like, held it up level with the horizon and, like, pull the cork out, like, you know, maybe somehow involving Blackbeard's sword somehow, but, like, you know, you have it, like, lined up, you pull the cork out or whatever, and you lower the bottle, and the ship just stays there on the water.
That would have been a really cool scene.
I think that would have been a really cool way to do it. And honestly, that's the way I thought they were going to do it, with, like, because Jack had that scene where he was, like, had it lined up with the horizon and stuff. So, I mean, as it was, it, like, they open it up and, like, or, like, pierces the bottle, and then Jack drops it, and it shatters the glass around it, and it grows a little bit to, like, 2 feet long or so. And then Barbossa throws it into the ocean, and it, poof, gets to full size.
Well, first it sinks, then it pops back up full size.
Yeah. So, I mean, that scene could have been done much cooler. I think they really missed an opportunity to do a really neat effect there.
Yeah.
So, my other big problem with the movie, my biggest problem with the movie is the heavy-handed supernatural, like, or not even the heavy-handed supernatural, but like the cursed ship being too weird.
Yeah.
The way it rears up like that. My other major problem with the movie, though, is the superfluous characters, like this witch, not Karina or whatever her name is, who everyone keeps calling witch, but the one who's an actual, like, voodoo witch.
Yeah.
Like with tattoos and throwing rats into cauldrons that burn green and stuff.
Let's see. I'm looking at IMDb here. Could that be it? Her Shansa? It's hard to tell because she's bald.
She's bald and she's covered in tattoos and piercings in the movie, so
it's hard to really know.
Right. So this witch, Barbossa goes to this witch, and she tells him to offer to lead Salazar to Jack. Okay?
That must be her, because there's no other female characters cast anywhere.
Yeah.
Except for the mayor's wife.
And then later on, this British captain, who's the one who was chasing both Henry for being a deserter or whatever, as well as Karina because of claiming she's a witch. He goes to this witch and uses her to tell him how to find Henry and what's-her-face, because he knows that they're going for the Trident, and he's gonna, he plans to capture the Trident for the British Empire because Britannia rules the waves.
Right.
So And then we don't see anything of him until later on when they've caught up with Jack and crew. And this is another thing. Like, they catch up. I get they're like coming in at an angle, but I mean, it was more or less behind them. And the Black Pearl's supposed to be the fastest ship on the sea.
Right.
That's
why they unleashed the Black Pearl, is to escape Salazar, because like it can outrun Salazar, which it can't, apparently.
Well, Salazar's got a ghost ship though.
That's true.
But so they show up, they catch up to the Pearl, and at that scene I was like, oh, we're gonna have a big naval battle here. Nope, Salazar shows up and sinks them. Completely unnecessary plot involving that character.
Something else that like occurred to me to be very rather unnecessary. So, Salazar, because the crew, Salazar and his crew cannot set foot on land, otherwise they disintegrate. So it perma-kills them. So when they go for the Trident, Salazar needs a way to step onto land, so he possesses Henry Turner.
Yeah. That
way he can do that. But they point out, like, well, if you do that, you'll never be able to leave his body. He says, oh no, the Trident can let me leave his body. Like, okay. And then, like, it's like 4 minutes later, and he touches the Trident and leaves Henry's body. I'm like, was it even necessary to have that as a plot point? Can they just possess him, and then he's like, now I have the Trident, I don't need your body anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean. So it's just, he possesses him, and then
we need to know that he needs to possess him to walk on the land. But once he has the Trident, it doesn't matter anymore. So the Trident unpossesses him.
Right.
Do we need to know that is it even necessary to have this line where he says, well, you can't leave his body?
Right.
It didn't affect anything.
Especially because it's such a short time he spends in the body.
Right. I thought, like, oh man, they're gonna have to, like, he's gonna be stuck in there, and they're gonna have to get the Trident to free Turner. But no, because Salazar, first chance he gets, grabs the Trident literally just a few minutes later.
Yeah.
And just instantly just pops out of Turner's body, and Turner collapses, and he's like, all right. There was no point in that little detail.
Right.
I mean, it didn't really add anything. It didn't really take anything away having it be there, but it's kind of superfluous. That's something that could be just tightened up. Like, well, it doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah. But I mean, I really liked in the first movie how, like, you know, so there was no like higher level supernatural stuff. It was gold that Cortez had stolen from killing and burning and pillaging South America. The Aztecs, I get, right? It was the Aztecs that...
It was Aztec gold, yeah.
Yeah, it was Aztec gold. So the Aztec witch doctors cursed the gold for anyone who pulls a coin out. And I was like, that was cool. That was a neat, like, yeah, it felt like a pirate curse, like, you know, and like there was a romanticized idea of pirates and pirate curses and stuff. And then there was like some voodoo magic in the second one, right?
Yeah.
And, but in this one, like, it just having like god level supernatural entity just felt like it's just taking a little too far. Like, Salazar's pirate curse was neat, and, you know, like, sort of fit with this romanticized idea of pirates, you know, in the golden age of sail, and in the, you know, the age of wooden ships and iron men, and this like superstition that evolved around that time. It felt appropriate to that, and then we're gonna throw in this trident from this Greek god of the sea in here.
For some reason, is in the Caribbean Ocean.
Which ocean? The
Caribbean Sea.
The Pacific.
Yeah.
What was that?
Excuse me. In the Caribbean Sea. Like, I started saying Pacific, I'm like, it's not the Pacific, they're in the Caribbean, and I still had my mind on Pacific Ocean, and then I'm like, okay, well, no.
Well, I mean, Pacific Ocean is not, like, super wrong, but...
Yeah, there's a landmass between the Pacific Ocean and where they were. Oh.
I mean, it's Florida. Who cares?
No.
Oh, wait.
Mexico.
Oh, yeah, Mexico.
Panama.
Yeah. Oh, Pacific. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Atlantic. I had a dumb.
Yeah, you did. You had a dumb as bad as me.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right, no, Caribbean Sea.
so yeah, this
Why would the trident of Poseidon be in the Caribbean Sea? If anywhere, it's going to be in the Mediterranean.
right, and so that, like I said, that felt like too high a level. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because they went from this like these like little curses, you know, voodoo magic and like witch doctor magic and stuff like that, to like god level.
well, it's not. I mean, it's not even as bad though as in the third one where there was the goddess of the sea
Yeah.
or whatever. I'm like, how many sea gods? How many sea gods we got?
Oh, that was such a cringy sequence when she grows huge, dude.
Yeah, so I had heard somewhere that the guys that wrote the second and third one, you know, they wrote the first one. Then when they wrote the second and third one, Disney came to them like, all right, we want to do 2 sequels back to back, like it's one long movie. Like, okay, and they did not have enough time to write the scripts, and it really shows. The script for the second movie was not complete when they started filming it.
Yeah, I could see that.
This is from the words of the director, Gore Verbinski. This movie had all different,
Yeah.
everything except for cast. We had a lot of returning characters. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know, when it was like these little, like, I mean, I say little, but these like lower level curses and supernatural stuff going on, it felt like it was just enough weirdness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it just sort of, it's just gone too far.
Yeah.
You know, if it was
Zombie
like
sharks was cool though.
the zombie sharks were cool. If it was like, you know, so Salazar is hunting him down, and they're going after some other thing, like I don't even know. You know, some
Something like
voodoo artifact. Because this is the Caribbean, some like voodoo artifact or something that can, you know, like eliminate any curse on the sea, and so that's why Salazar is looking for it, and then why Henry's looking for it, because Britannia having any interest in the MacGuffin in this literally didn't matter. We've already been over that though.
Yeah.
So
Really, what the MacGuffin should have been was like, these are 2 escaped criminals. We're going after escaped criminals. Because it was not even that. It's 2 escaped criminals and a band of wanted pirates.
yeah,
And they're like, we're going after these pirates and these criminals who all escaped together.
which also would have
That should have been the driving force behind the British involvement.
which also would have explained why there was one freaking British ship chasing them. You would think, hey, there's an artifact that can, you know, make you able to control the ocean, control the seas. Britannia's gonna want this. Let's send one brig after them. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. But do you think this captain could convince anyone else to do that, though?
I'm surprised he convinced anyone to let him chase after them, because we've already established, like, it has already been established at that point that Jack's wanted level is 1 pound.
Yeah.
Literally, like, why? Why chase after Jack Sparrow? He's not. No one cares. He's wash up.
Yeah, he's
washed up, you know. And then one escaped deserter and a witch. Like, who the hell cares? Like, they would not put the resources into that chase.
It's more plausible than, I want to find this magic spear.
Yeah.
From a Greek god.
That sound like a firework out there to you?
Yeah.
I wonder if the mics picked that up.
Well, anyway, I don't know. We have anything else to talk about?
Just that they really need to stop making these movies.
Yeah, again, this isn't a bad movie.
It's an okay movie.
It's an okay movie. It's entertaining. I had a good time watching it. It's not near the level of the first one, but it's definitely better than the other 3 sequels.
Yep.
I would definitely put this as number 2 pirate movie.
It's a steep drop off from 1 to 5, though.
Yeah, it does wrap everything up. It wraps up Will Turner's story. He's uncursed. He comes back. He's with Elizabeth Swann and
Jack's got the Black Pearl back and a crew to
the
sail
crew that
out.
respects him again.
Yeah, a crew that respects him again is to sail out and go pirating.
Henry
and
Turner's got a lady.
Henry Turner's got a lady, and Barbossa's dead. Apparently,
May or may not be dead.
Well,
Barbossa, he's died before.
Yeah. So, I mean, he could be dead. I think he's dead, but that doesn't necessarily mean he can't come back. Let's say he's probably proper dead.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean he can't come back.
That's true.
But what's our next movie? Is it gonna be Baywatch or Wonder Woman? Baywatch, right?
Baywatch, I guess.
Yeah, that movie looks pretty funny. I'm excited. So we'll probably be posting that up later this week. Maybe
yeah.
I don't. Maybe you get that one up next Saturday or this coming Saturday. This is going up on Sunday, right?
This video? What's today? Saturday.
It's going up on Sunday, right?
Yeah, might go up tonight.
I don't know. But yeah, so our next video will probably be Baywatch, so look forward to that.
And followed by Wonder Woman shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I get the feeling that the Wonder Woman video is going to be much longer than the Baywatch video. So look for those next weekend. Thanks for listening, and if you want more stuff like this, go ahead and hit that sub button down there so you see when we post these. We're trying to make these the new Fangled Motion Picture Show a regular thing.
Yeah,
obviously it's dependent on movie release schedules, right?
And when we actually get the chance to see some movies.
Yeah,
We tend to see them
opening weekend.
though.
Yeah, so we're approaching the summer blockbuster time. So hopefully we'll have plenty of material for a few months now. Is that writer strike going to happen, by the way?
You know, I haven't seen the latest on it.
Okay, because that might screw up some things in a few months if that's the case.
It might, yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, thanks for listening, and until next time, bye.